Okay, welcome to Into the Channel. Welcome back to Into the Channel podcast, primarily about women's football. I am your host, Dino DeCespedes, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engel. What is up, man?
I'm feeling fantastic, buddy. The UEFA Women's Champions League final is upon us. It's time for the final preview of the final.
Final about the final here at the ITC. I texted you earlier today about this. I want to do a very American thing where we just crank up the volume on these cliches. I want to hit some keys to the game. I want to hit some matchups to watch. I want to talk some X factors. I don't know if there's room for rest versus rust or even if it's appropriate. But I don't know. 2 QBs. Do you even have a QB? There's a lot of, I want to go a lot of different cliche places with this final. Just really crank up the America. So with that said, a lot of different angles we can look at this UEFA Women's Champions League final from. Where do you want to get started?
If you have 2 Ballon d'Or winners, do you have 1 Ballon d'Or winner? Turns out the answer is actually yes, you do. You do have 2, in fact. Yes, let's get started, my good man. Well, let's get started with a beverage.
Oh yeah, I mean, maybe it should be 3 Ballon d'Or winners. We'll talk about that one later.
We've watched a lot of football these past few months. We've watched some great Champions League football. I think we should cheers to it. If I can work this can of beer. There it is.
Cheers to working these cans.
Exactly. Cheers to you. Cheers to the football. Cheers to the Champions League. Just the best tournament in the world. I gave a clumsy answer. I'm going to go in the Wayback Machine real quick. Quick diversion. When we were on Leanne Sanderson's great podcast, she asked what my favorite league was. And I said the UEFA Women's Champions League. I could tell she wasn't super psyched about that answer because I know she was looking for a domestic league. I finally put my finger on it. When I was growing up as a kid and I was watching professional baseball, because believe it or not, in America, people used to care about baseball. I used to wonder what it would look like if like the Atlanta Braves or the New York Yankees played the best team from the Dominican Republic or played the best team from the Mexican League. Like, how would that look? And, you know, people would tell me, like, oh, yeah, they'd get destroyed by the Yankees, of course. I'm like, probably not. Like, especially in baseball, like, I just don't think that's how it works. And that is what I love about this tournament. That is what I love about the Champions League. And even though you can get chalk in some of these tournaments, and I mean, you could maybe even argue that you often do, we didn't get that in this tournament. And I'm just super psyched to see it.
It's so funny how much one kind of shock result can really just apply a whole layer of color to the tournament. You know, like it's like, you know, everybody's expecting Lyon and Barcelona. The chic kind of like alternative take is like, okay, well maybe Chelsea. This is the year that they get over the Barcelona hump, and that's what everybody was looking for. Nobody was looking for Arsenal to be able to come back after losing at home, go to Lyon and hang a bunch of goals, enough goals on them to make it to the Champions League final. I mean, unbelievable stuff. Like, really, I don't think post-final there's going to be, I asked Leanne about this when she made an appearance on our show. I don't think there's a bad story in the bunch. Either we're going to get an astronomical, historical upset, you know, of like a 5, 6, 7 to 1 underdog who really stumbled through a lot of different parts of this tournament, you know, lifting the trophy, or we're going to get the greatest team maybe ever assembled, you know, just, you know, cementing, you know, like we're smack dab mid legacy if Barcelona comes out and just kind of handles Arsenal in Lisbon here.
Yeah, and you know, the avenue to get there is going to be interesting. Like in these 1-game finals, you're going to get a path, and if it's Barcelona wins 5-0, then everybody has to stand up and be like, this is a team that could be on their way to their second consecutive quadruple if they win Copa de la Reina against Atletico Madrid following this Champions League final. and you're cemented as one of the greatest teams of all time. And I always say I don't pretend to be a women's football historian. I'm trying to work my way toward that, but they would certainly have to be in that conversation. You win 2 consecutive quadruples, according to my rudimentary internet searching. I don't think that's been done before. And if Arsenal wins, it's one of the biggest upsets people have seen in a long time. And that says a lot about Barcelona too, because it's not like it's not like Arsenal is some tiny club.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think so many different fun, meaty angles to look at. I want to talk a little keys to the game. So for for the uninitiated, keys to the game is a little thing we like to do out here, where we look at a couple factors that could make the difference for each side. So where do you want to start, Barcelona or Arsenal? I've got keys for both. Let's do one for each side if you want to get rolling there, and I'll kick it to you with regard to where you want to get started.
Okay. I like the concept that Americans invented keys to the game. I can't wait for somebody in Europe to be like, yeah, dude, we figured that out a while ago, but I don't know. We'll see. We probably invented it, right? We invented most things. That's how Americans think. I'll start.
Yeah.
We invented keys. So I'm going to take Barcelona first because the Gooners are your squad. I think Barcelona should want to start fast in this match. I think because of Arsenal's scrappy nature, because of the belief that is growing in that squad, I think if you go into halftime 0-0 or you go into halftime 1-1, everybody in that Arsenal dressing room is going to be looking at each other saying, we know how to win this game. 34-year-old, 2014 NWSL MVP, Kim Little, 2018 WSL winner, Kim Little, Mariona with some Champions League experience and trophies and medals herself. They're going to look at each other and say, we can win this. And I don't think Barcelona should be like terrified of that, but you certainly would like to start closing that door early on Arsenal.
Yeah, that's a great point, because you look at that Arsenal side, a lot of veteran players, and Barcelona's got veterans as well, but Barcelona's also littered with a lot of young players, whether it's like Badiuelo, Bina still, on the younger side of 25, Esme Brooks, like there is a lot of experience there, but it isn't as if Arsenal's going to show up and be blinded by the lights and just kind of have no clue what's going on. These are big players that played in big games. You could even look at Emily Fox, with their U.S. Women's National Team experience, Chloe Kelly. Like, these are players that played in massive games. So I'm not too worried about from that standpoint. I love the call about Barcelona starting early, because I think that's probably one of my keys too for the Barcelona, from a Barcelona standpoint, is that can they control the tempo? Like, first 10, 15 minutes, can they control the ball? Can they keep Arsenal chasing them? Can they keep Arsenal on the back foot? Can they just basically move the chess pieces and basically wear out that Arsenal defense? I think that's going to be huge. And then I think with regard to the first half, don't overlook like the last 5-10 minutes of the first half either, because that's usually the spot where a team like Barcelona can lean on some of their conditioning, can lean on some of their like IQ to like really say, okay, we've chipped away, and now we're at 42-30, and we're going to make a move here, and we know that you're a little tired, and we know that we've been kind of running you ragged, and now we're going to go from 1-0 to 2-0, which now going into halftime feels completely different, or who knows what the scoreline could be. But I think that last 5-10 minutes before the half for Barcelona could be huge.
Yeah, it's a great point. And how many times have you seen Barcelona really just take the air out of the other team's tires right before the half, where it's just like you could play them close, and then Barcelona stretches one more goal in the 43rd or the 44th, and then everybody has to look at each other, and then it's a sad walk into the dressing room after that. You certainly don't want that against the best team in the world.
It changes your whole perspective too, because I'm sure you've played this game. You love to play manager as much as anybody else. You're thinking, all right, 1-0 going into halftime. What are our moves here? Maybe we've got subs come in at 60 or 65, and you start to play out the scenarios. But then when it's 2-0, you're like, okay, let's get the rosary out. Let's start, some holy water. I don't know. Let's see what we can do to just, find some powers that be. Let's summon some football gods to kind of help us. A completely different feel with those two scenarios. From an Arsenal standpoint, keys to the game from the Arsenal side, I tend to think it's in the midfield. But when you think about what Arsenal's going to need to have happen, I don't know, where does your head go?
Yeah, I think I mentioned Kim Little already. I think her time, as a player at this part of her career, more of a defensive-minded midfielder, spent a lot of time at defensive midfielder this season for Arsenal. Did some attacking as well, of course. But I think it's going to start with her in a defensive posture, and then McCabe, Catley, Williamson, Fox on the back line, all the way back to Daphne von Domselaar. They're going to have to play their best game of the season, without a doubt, to try to contain this Barcelona attack.
Yeah, absolutely. I think defensively they're going to have to hold up. And I think even more specifically, the center, that central channel where you've got Von Domselaar, Catley, and Williamson. I think Arsenal's a little bit vulnerable down that pathway. They're going to have to definitely need to do some team defending, make sure everybody's getting back. I think Maniona's did a great job of that this year. Kim Little as well, just back mixing it up. They're gonna need everybody to basically hold the line there. But I think that central channel is really a point of danger. And then I think in the midfield, you called it out: Kim Little, Mariona, Frida Maanum. Yeah. Those three are going to have to be somewhere in the ballpark with Patri, Alexia, and Aitana. Like if it's a complete shutout, I don't think Arsenal's got any shot. If there's some give and take in the midfield, I think now we've got ourselves a ball game.
So I'm going to do some of this off the top of my head. I believe Arsenal from the group stage on. I don't have the stats from them making it through those qualifying stages. But from the group stage on in the Champions League, Arsenal won the possession battle in every single match they played, except for match day 6, the revenge game against Bayern Munich. And even then they had 48% of the ball. So they barely kind of lost the possession battle there. That midfield is going to have to find a way to mitigate getting crushed in the possession battle, but also finding a way to win while not having more of the ball.
Yeah, and I think they're going to have to, finding a way to win is going to be tough because they're going to have to find alternative ways forward. Sure. If the attack is straightforward and repetitive, that's just going to be DOA. They're going to have to get a little bit creative. But luckily, I think all three of those midfielders, Little, Mariona, and Maanum, if those are the three, all three have business up the pitch, can get busy up there, can be dangerous up there. And I think we're going to need to see that from an Arsenal perspective. I want to shift gears though, talk about some specific matchups. We don't know the lineups yet, obviously. But that's usually where the first place my head goes when I've got the 11 for each side. I'm just like, okay, what are we looking at here? What can happen? What should I be watching for early? So with that said, are there any matchups that intrigue you?
For me, A1 is going to be, and Selma Padiuelo is a wonderful player. We've talked about her from the 2023 World Cup. I think because of the absolute heater that Claudia Pina is on, I think she will start at left back. And if left wing. If Claudia Pina is on the left wing, then she is very likely going to be matched up against Emily Fox at right back. And that is a heavyweight fight that I'm very much looking forward to watch.
Yep. Emily Fox also coming off that stark disappointment of not being named as your starting right back from our U.S. Women's National Team show. So, I mean, she's going to have a gigantic chip on her shoulder on this one. So we'll be watching that. I'm going to be watching. Oh, I'll start with Arsenal. Arsenal's attack on the right side versus Barcelona's left. So let's say it's Emily Fox, the aforementioned Emily Fox. Maybe it's Mariona in the midfield, and let's say either Caitlin Ford or Chloe Kelly up top. I think those three, if we're looking at a potential weakness or maybe area of slight vulnerability, Barcelona's left hand side, where maybe you have Brooks in the back, Badiola up front, and maybe Alexia in midfield. I think that's a 3v3 where Arsenal can make a little progress, work the ball upfield, kind of find a few chances up here. Chloe Kelly, for me, I think is a player that I'm looking for. The big game experience, obviously come through in huge spots, has come through in this tournament, as a new arrival in North London. So I think that Arsenal right side versus Barcelona left side, I think that could be a matchup to watch for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's right on. And if you're Arsenal, you are going to hope that you can take something mostly away from Barcelona. And you're not gonna take away Aitana Bonmati. You're not gonna take away Alexia Putellas or Carolina Graham Hansen. So you got to find something to be like, okay, we're gonna at least limit this. And so if you can pin back Brutes and pardon me, I'm totally spacing. If you can pin back Brutes and Pina, then you have like a decent chance of saying, okay, well, all right, if we can worry about that less, and then maybe we can try to like disrupt people, block some shots from some of the other superlative talent on the field. I think it's a worthwhile strategy to at least try. And if it ends up you give up 2 goals to Eva Payor in the first 15 minutes, then you say, okay, that strategy didn't work. Let's go try something else.
Yeah, if it's 2 and 15, I mean, yeah, we might be just doing some other stuff, getting ready for possibly next season at that point. If I'm Barcelona, I think, we talked about that central channel as being an area of opportunity. Daphne van Domselaar, another player, we have to make sure that the health situation is in check, and is a player that's in the starting lineup. If Van Domselaar is not there, makes it a lot trickier. No shade at Manuel Zinsberger, but I think this probably has to be a Van Domselaar game for Arsenal to have any kind of shot here. And again, those center backs, Leah Williamson, Steph Catley, can they get into those lanes? Can they just kind of be disruptive? Barcelona loves to kind of like knock, short passes in that danger area. Can Barcelona can Arsenal just be, again, like in spaces where Barcelona now has to go the long way to kind of switch the field or reset or do things? Because if Arsenal's kind of getting beat back door and side door, that's pretty much it. We'll know, to Leanne's point. Leanne Sanderson came on the show, said, hey, I'll let you guys know in 10 minutes what I'm thinking. Well, I think in 10 minutes we'll know if that Arsenal defense is going to be up for it.
I love that. We will be looking at WhatsApp furiously to see if the legend lets us know what's going to happen for the rest of the match based on those 10 minutes. But yeah, you're totally right. I mean, it's gonna be a massive test for Williamson and Catley. I think Eva Payor really has something to show in this match. I think we'll talk about her a little later. But yeah, if Arsenal's going to have a chance, they're going to have to slow down that Barcelona attack. That goes without saying. But, it's going to be up to them to also then try to get some counters going and not fall into that trap that you and I have talked about so many times, where it's you can win the ball from Barcelona, but then they have your next 2 passes covered, and then you can't even get the ball out of your defensive third. They have to find a way to get the ball to those midfielders you referenced earlier into some kind of space to just give themselves some relief at points.
Yeah, and I think Arsenal has to be able to move the ball upfield, as simple as that sounds, because like Barcelona, what they do is when they take away those options, you're left with a pass back to the keeper or back. All they let you do is go backwards. It's just like, oh, you're going to keep going backwards. We'll let you keep doing that for sure. But Arsenal's going to have to find some lanes. They're going to have to get a little creative. The one benefit, though, and credit to Leanne Sanderson, she's talked to us about this as well. Barcelona's not going to have a lot of familiarity with Arsenal, this defense,
Mm.
this attack, Rene Slayers. Like there's a lot that's going to be new to this Barcelona side. Obviously, they play their game. There's no getting them out of their game. So it may matter, it may not matter, but that's something also I think worth mentioning.
Yeah, and Aitana Bonmati mentioned it. I believe it was to ESPN. And the headline, of course, was Bonmati surprised Arsenal's in the final. That was one part of her
Ugh,
quote.
how
But
dare she?
yeah, of
Ridiculous.
course.
What has she
Bulletin
done?
board material.
Seriously, what has she done?
Yeah, exactly. How dare you be surprised that a team that hasn't made the final for 17 years makes the final? So that was the headline, but she was very respectful in it, just saying like, hey, going to Lyon and getting that victory is incredibly impressive. There's a reason people didn't expect that, and it's respect to Lyon. But what she also said in that interview was she mentioned that very thing that you're talking about, is that they haven't played Arsenal much at all in the past several years, and definitely not in a big spot like this. So it's something that she's looking out for. And, even with Arsenal's pedigree, to as a historically great women's club, hasn't won the WSL in 6 years at this point. Last team to win it before Chelsea went on this incredible run. You have to think, if you're Barcelona, we have more big game experience than this Arsenal squad together. Even if there might be some folly in that, I still think if you're Barcelona, there can't be any shortage of belief.
Yeah, and I think they've got the big game players, and I want to talk a little bit about X factors too. Weirdly enough, I think there's a lot of debate on how to define X factor specifically, but I always think about it as like who's being underreported, who might be being underprepared for. Now, underprepared for, you would never include CGH in that mix. But I think a player like CGH, coming off like a slight Ballon d'Or snub last year, a little bit less of an impactful season this year, although still a great year for CGH, that might be a player where we might see an explosion, because that's somebody that's not being discussed to the same degree as they were last year. And if we're going for more of like a player under the radar, I think a player like Mapi Leon could potentially have a lot to do, could be involved in a lot of stuff. If Arsenal does decide, hey, we need to be super opportunistic. Leanne Sanderson came on our show also and talked about, hey, that Barcelona defense, maybe they haven't been tested to the degree of some other defenses. Maybe they could be gettable in spots. I do think that that's true. And that's something that we'll kind of have to watch, but I don't know that we'll the Arsenal attack, like, they're going to have to grab moments here and there. They're not going to be able to compete 90 minutes top to bottom. So I think a player like Mapi, you could think about Paredes too. You could even think about Katakoi. I think those players will be called into action, and it almost makes it a little trickier if the chances are fewer and further between. If you got to really get up for something, and then it's another 20, 25 minutes before there's another screamer coming through the box, that could be an opportunity. So I would keep an eye on those Barcelona center backs as well, with special attention on Mapi, because the other part too is on the other side, she could be devastating from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I got to say, I mean, as an Arsenal supporter, we're talking about X factors here. You throw out 3 Barcelona players. You caught me off guard here. Now I got to prepare for you as an X factor, apparently. So, which you always are, my good man. Even though I don't think you qualify as an X factor though, because you're a superstar. So, I mean, what are we talking about here? So let me give the Arsenal side here.
I'm past my prime though, maybe back in the day. So
you're right.
The fact that I can still summon it at this age maybe qualifies.
That's the surprise. No, that's fair. That's understandable. What if CGH is running down that right hand side and Katie McCabe is just like, okay, hard foul time, and I'm
Mm,
going to get in your head and I'm going to rough you up and I'm going to get you off of your game. And then maybe, Mariona and Alexia start to get frustrated, like, hey, yelling at the ref, like, take care of this. Don't let her hit CGH like this. What if McCabe has a say in those things? And on that same typically left side, I know Chloe Kelly can bounce in between. It's hard to throw Chloe Kelly in the under like represented kind of silo, but I think
yeah,
she could. I think she is right because she's not Russo, Alessia Russo. She's not Mariona Caldente. I know Kelly has been good in her time there. She could be an X factor type of player, even if she's streaking down that left hand side in a counterattack, in a pure counterattack. They get the ball off of Barcelona for just a few seconds, and then she's
yep.
playing the ball inside, and Frida Monum or Mariona Caldente standing there in the middle to get a surprise goal. I think Kelly is one to watch as a potential X factor.
Yeah, I love it. Kelly was huge. I mean, she played great. Again, joining Arsenal mid season, but came up huge against Manchester United in a big game. Gets
Mm-hmm.
the goal early, very opportunistically off that PTJ mistake, and then gets a big assist to Kim Little for the fourth one. So huge play. Arsenal's going to need big time performances from a lot of players. I think Chloe Kelly is very, very near the top of that list for X factors. I think one more that I would consider from an Arsenal standpoint. I mean, Von Domsar is going to be in there.
Gotta be.
Like in terms of a player that's got to be healthy and right, and will have a lot of opportunity to get hands on the ball for sure. And then one little bit of a curveball. So, and I'm excited to get your take on this. I went back and looked. Barcelona obviously lost 3 matches this season, WSL and the Champions League, Levante, Real Madrid, and Manchester City.
Damn
The
right.
only match that they lost with Ona Battier on the pitch was that match to Manchester City, super early.
Mm.
They didn't lose a single match with all 4 of their typical like 1A backliners in the starting lineup: Brooks, Paredes, Mapi and Battier. So I'd keep an eye on Battier, and I think this is a weird stealth thing to look for. But if I'm Renee Slater, Battier is such a game wrecker that
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I wouldn't be against maybe putting Stina Blackstenius in the match up top and just parking her in that area and just sort of being the defensive lineman that eats up offensive linemen, just clog the paint, clog
Sure.
the A gap and the B gap and the C, just clog the gaps, and occupy a couple of those players, whether, it's Paredes and Battier. But I think a player like that, because Blackstenius loves to get into great spots, with the ball, and
Sure.
she's super crafty from that standpoint. Finishing is another issue, but would love to just have a player that's just her only job is to just keep Battier, a little bit preoccupied, a little bit distracted.
I love it. No, I think it's a great shout. I'm trying to look it up quickly. So yeah, Black Stenius is 5'9", great size. You could try to use that to push around Paredes and Mappy Leon, even on Abate to try to distract her, like you're saying. I mean, it's funny because I know you have had your doubts in the past about a Russo Blackstenius combo. Like,
Yeah.
if you try to like play Russo like, more of like a kind of number 10 ish and Blackstenius as a 9, but that's why we talk tactics, is because sometimes maybe that's the look you want. So I think that's really interesting coming from you. I did not expect it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's so many different ways to go. There's also against Barcelona. It's one of those things where I'm going to twist the part of speech a little bit. There's no right answer, right? Because
That yeah,
Barcelona, like, you could try a lot of different things and get all of them wrong, and
true.
and be at no fault whatsoever. All right, I think let's see where we're at. Yeah, we're right about the half-hour mark. We're crushing it from a time standpoint, so let's not sweat it.
Nice.
Let's make some picks. I think we talk X factors, we talk matchups, we talk some keys, we even talk some betting lines to rewind it back to the origin story. I want to kick it to you. I want to hear you. You very famously. I was thinking about this today. the legend Asil Tufaili came on the show last year. Got you all pumped up about Lyon pre-final. When it came time to make predictions, you went against everything you had ever stood for to that point, and then I think got swept up in all the Lyon fever. So, with that said, I hate to rehash old shit, but I do want to kick it to you, give you a chance to I don't know. Let's see. Maybe you catch me by surprise here, but I want to hear your pick for the 2025 UEFA Women's Champions League final.
So we'll see if I think I may have broke a Cardinal podcasting rule, but I might as well promote it because if you're this far and you haven't watched it already, I guess we can't spoil it. I revealed my pick because I was a guest on the Great Shades of Blue lit stream, which you should immediately, Shades of Blue, subscribe, like, rate 5 stars, anything you could possibly do to support those guys, one of the best podcasters in the game. Have a Manchester City focus, but bring on football fans and football pundits, experts from all over the world game, and me. They brought me on also. So I did give my pick there. And while I could give 2 separate picks to try to see if I could get one right, I will maintain some take integrity here. I think it is Barcelona 3, Arsenal 1. I think you cannot keep Mariona out of the net. I think she will score in this match because that's who she is. But I think Barcelona, I'll add a little sauce on the take. I didn't get into all this on Shades of Blue, but I think Barcelona will be up 2-0 and Mariona will pull one back before Barcelona scores the dagger.
I could see that. 3-1. I mean, that's a scoreline that feels very, very reasonable, very realistic. That one definitely ran through my head for sure. Hard to look at Barcelona, the pedigree, defending champions, just the talent, the talent of this side, the talent on the bench, what they're able to bring. It's ridiculous. And then they play like fucking geniuses.
Yeah.
They just do everything right. You were talking about not wanting to go at Irene Paredes, and it's I wouldn't want to go at Irene Paredes. No. I'm 6'3", 230 something pounds, and I don't feel like I stand a chance in any kind of not even just football, just any kind of physical take on. I feel like I'm at a supreme disadvantage going against Paredes, but obviously they're loaded. I went back and forth quite a bit, thinking about, all right, what kind of scoreline do I envision? And I got to tell you, buddy,
yes,
when I talk about the stars aligning, right down to the point of our guy Chris Sharple's on the call coming on with us. You think about, these legends of the game, some of them in the twilight of their career. Think about Kim Little, Mariana Caldente. You think about the storybook notion of Mariona telling her teammates, "I'm going to see you in the final," and now here we are against. Months ago, I said this Arsenal team stunk. Granted that they were under Jonas Edeval, so I feel a little bit vindicated. But everything that they've gone through to get here, and I just feel like we're on the cusp of a historic sports upset. So give me,
let's go.
Arsenal 1, Barcelona 0, 85th minute, Chloe Kelly goal from Mariona Caldente. And we just basically get Buster Douglas over Mike Tyson too.
That's just absolutely wonderful. And I was going to try to make the joke earlier, we were talking about Chloe Kelly. I was going to try to make some kind of joke of, well, what does Chloe Kelly know about scoring big historic goals? It turns out quite a bit. Won the damn Euros for the Lionesses. that she's already, because of that goal, she's an all timer.
Yeah.
If she were to pull that off, then we're talking statue territory at that
Mm,
point.
yeah. Yeah. That's a London and English legend for sure. That's
No doubt.
basically, the great Sean Carter once said he was a legend in two games like Pee Wee Kirkland. I think Chloe Kelly would be a legend in, obviously international and both and club football with just peak apex performances. So yeah, give me 1-0 Arsenal. I think I really do think it's going to happen. I think we're going to get the upset of upsets. Nobody, you know, I think we got wild results in the semifinal. When you think
True.
about Arsenal coming back and just beating Lyon, like just that in and of itself, without the comeback, was truly historic. And then on the other side, Barcelona was just complete mashing of Chelsea, who I think most of us thought this is a real contender. And I think like it's a
Of
lot of
course.
revisionists say, oh, they got injuries and this. But I mean, Leanne said, he's like, if you're Chelsea, how do you say we need more players, or like we don't have the players? Like you got the players, like you got all the best
Yeah.
players. So you paid a lot of money for a ton of great players. So I think the semifinal provided us with a lot of surprises, and I think come Saturday we might just get one more massive surprise. I'm very, very excited.
God, I love that. I love that so much. And you know what? I like that you picked that Chloe Kelly will score it in the 85th minute. Doesn't even have to wait till the 111th minute like she did in the Euros. She's going to take care of business early, get her homework done on
Yep.
time, hand it
Yep.
in neatly to the teacher. I absolutely love it. I'd expect nothing less from you. If it happens, the post match show that we're going to do, we might as well. I mean, that show will
I
be
might get a statue,
in.
buddy.
Yeah, I'm saying that show will be insane.
I can't wait. And as obviously, like I want to be, I fully recognize that anything can happen. I want to get as deep into this match as I can alive. And I mentioned this too before the Leon tie, where I'm just like, I want to stay alive as long as possible. And the longer it went, the more alive Arsenal looked. So I don't know.
Well, yeah,
I think it's good. It's going to be a ton of fun on Saturday either way. And obviously Arsenal's way up against it. I made my game prediction, made my score prediction, my player of the match prediction. Now I'm going to go with, just to match the narrative that I'm putting together here. Obviously Chloe Kelly, I think is going to cash in late, not as late as you mentioned in the Euros. And I think actually if this does go to added extra time, like Leanne mentioned, it could happen. That's a surprise. That would be real bad for Arsenal. I don't want to see those players, limping through the 100th, 110, 120th minute.
well, don't worry. Just Sydney Shirtenleib will come on the field if things get late. Yeah, you'll be fine. Maybe Vicky Lopez will show up. I mean, you'll be just fine.
Easy peasy. That's light work for us. Yeah, and then whoever didn't start from Pariol and Pina, we could expect that person to join the party. Rolfo Brooks, that's another. Oh my God, it's good. I don't want to even think about that part. I just want to stay in the part where we're lifting the trophy against all odds. But yeah, I think my player of the match, I'm gonna say it would have to be Daphne von Domselaar to hold this Barcelona team to 0. I would expect some massive saves. I'm going to go out on another clean sheet for Von Domselaar, including one penalty kick save. I think she gets Alexia in the 47th minute, stares her down, just shifts the entire momentum. Barcelona at this point has earned a penalty kick right after coming out at the start of the second half. Von Domselaar stones her on her way to player of the match, and then on her way to obviously lifting the trophy and bringing the cup back to North London and champions of Europe. You already know what time it is.
I mean, this would. I had a run. I can't remember what. I think it was one of the final match weeks of the group stage, or maybe it might have been the quarterfinals. I think it was the quarterfinals where I had like a pretty sick run where I got like three of the four score predictions correct,
Yeah,
and I was like pretty close on the fourth.
yeah.
This would destroy that. This would make that wouldn't even be a footnote in ITC history if you get these right. I mean, these are fantastic picks, buddy. I'm honored to witness them ahead of the match.
Well, that's the only time they'll be valid. So I appreciate you going along for the ride for me. You have a player of the match prediction?
Eva Paior has appeared in 4 UEFA Women's Champions League finals for Wolfsburg. She
Mm.
lost 3 to Lyon and 1 to her current employer, Barcelona Football Club. Or, pardon me, Football Club Barcelona, FC Barcelona. I think she's going to score a brace because I think Kim Little, Leah Williamson, Emily Fox, and company are going to be very busy trying to contain Claudia Pina, CGH, Puteas, and Bon Mati. I think Paior gets the monkey off her back, Steve Young style, and gets a couple of goals and finally gets to lift that trophy after just an I feel like we didn't talk about her that much, but just a dominant season for Barcelona.
Yeah, just cashed in week after week. That would be great to see Paior be able to celebrate that kind of victory, and just so wild that a team could have that much talent that you could construct a narrative where there's so much offensive firepower being active in the final third that Paior just kind of goes unnoticed and is able to slide, just slide through and just be either poach or just slip behind the defense and take advantage of basically everybody being distracted by all the shiny things in Barcelona's offense. So again, tall task, but very, I don't know. I'm very pumped. You got me pumped up, and I'm excited to hear where you go from here.
Yeah, I just want to say on Paior, I mean, 25 goals, 10 assists in Liga F.
Oh my god!
In the Champions League, 7 goals, 1 assist. I mean, she's just been an absolute force. And I had to think about those Champions League final appearances. And when I saw that 3 of the losses were to Lyon, and then I think it was 2023. Yeah, of course. 2023, Wolfsburg loses to Barcelona. It's just got to be something for her where, you think about, like, I know people give Kevin Durant like a lot of shit, but like you lose and lose and lose, and you're just like, I'm good enough to be on the best team. I'm good enough to be one of the best players on the best team. Just get me on there so I can do my thing and
Right.
lift that trophy that I just am so desperately trying to lift. I think she gets it done. But in the alternate universe where your Gooners lift it, I mean, I'd be happy to live there as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, you know, it's no easy feat to kind of join a team like that
It's so
and
true.
step into that role, because like, what do we hear? I mean, we got a ton of Barcelona fans, part of our community, that, and it's not just lip service talking about how that organization cultivates talent, builds a community, sort of like is more than a club, right? So
Yes.
imagine that is the club globally. That is the gold standard. They do things their way. They home grow talent. Like, there's so many Spanish excellent players there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to come in from Wolfsburg, from Poland, and
Yep.
step into Barcelona's attack, and be the endpoint for all those genius passes. And then, when it comes time, you cash in 25 goals, 10 assists, and then do what you do in the Champions League, score against Chelsea in the semifinal. This is a player that, weirdly enough, I think has gone underreported as well.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And like obviously the comp to a Robert Lewandowski, they're both
Mm.
Polish, they're both number nines, like it feels like it makes sense. They both moved to Barcelona. Lewandowski won a lot in his club career
Yep.
previously, and I think Payar has at least, I want to say, 6 domestic league trophies with Wolfsburg. But she's just dying to get this crown jewel of a trophy, and she's right on the precipice of it. It's gonna be cinema, as I believe the kids like to say on social media.
Love it. Love the pick. Love the prediction. That's good, Ed. Um, quick update on commercials. We launched Linktree shops very recently. A lot of cool stuff in there. A lot of gear. Some equipment, jerseys. A lot of fun stuff. To kind of check out there. You can see what's going on in there by visiting our Linktree. Basically, find us anywhere on social and click on shops. And if you grab anything, your boys earn a very fun, nice, healthy commission off that. So I think it's a win-win for pretty much everybody involved. I'm dying to go in there and grab a couple things, especially as we kind of hit the NWSL stretch. A lot of fun NWSL stuff in there. We also launched memberships via YouTube. We've got one tier. It's the one beer tier. It's $4.99 a month, basically the cost of a beer. Memberships include fun custom digital goodies, shout outs on the show, and priority replies from your boys, both in the comments and on the show. And I didn't talk to you about this, but we're going to have some fun down the road. A little live producing on the show. I like to break news. We're going to do a little. I want to temperature check the idea of like maybe doing a live pregame for our members, where let's say it's maybe half an hour or an hour before a big match. And it's not really a show, but it's us. We're in there. We're kicking it. We're talking about things. We're workshopping some predictions and some takes, and we'll make that a members only experience. Kind of open it up where members can partake and maybe come on camera or I don't know, join the festivities in some way that's a little bit more intimate, and kind of do what we do, which is basically get together and get excited about the football that's upcoming. So that's definitely coming down the pike as well, and will be included as part of memberships. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that? Sorry,
I'm in. You know what?
Break it to you.
Well, I'm being recorded right now, so I can't really say no, but I wouldn't say no. I mean, this is a great idea. And just, to let people behind the curtain, I know I've said this before. Dino's very obviously, I probably don't need to state this for the audience. Dino's very obviously the brains behind this operation. So yeah, that sounds good to me. I would love to chop it up with everybody who supports the show. We obviously appreciate you guys so much for rocking with us. We're like Dino and I talk all the time. Like it's just wild to see like the smart and kind people who talk about football with us on the internet. So any opportunity we have to kick it with you guys, I'm more than happy to.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll just have to figure out when we pin that down on the calendar. And speaking of calendar, episode calendar. So obviously, you just rocked with us on the Picks and Prediction Show. Saturday night, we'll be back to recap the final next week. We've mentioned a couple times, 2025 UWCL play-by-play announcer for DAZN, Mr. Chris Sharples. Goodness me, joining us for the second straight year, written in the stars. You don't even know what time it is. I don't know, just a fun week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks of shows coming down the pike. After that, we'll have some USWNT updates. They're getting busy in June. I think they've got 5 matches in 32 or 33 days that we'll be talking a good bit about. And then NWSL hits the stretch run as well. 10 weeks down, 16 to go, 17 to go, depending on where some teams are at. But yeah, sure. the footballs, it doesn't end when the Champions League wraps. It's definitely a pinnacle for us, but the calendar pretty much never stops.
I mean, it's why it's the greatest sport in the world. I mean, I do wonder what football in the USA would look like on the European calendar, but then I also think about how would Chicago Stars FC play in December. It would not be enjoyable. I mean, it's a little more mild up here, but how much would I enjoy, riding my bike down to Lumen Field in December in Seattle? I probably wouldn't enjoy that so much. So maybe I should just be grateful for the summer season. And you already know, top Syrian, the greatest league in the world with the greatest club in the world, SK Braun, plays in the summer too. So I'm just grateful the calendar doesn't stop after the Champions League, even though we will be a little sad after the final. You
Hmm.
always kind of get that like post-final clarity where it's just like, oh, okay, no more Champions League for a while. But Braun will sustain us. NWSL will sustain us. Um, Damel Svensson will sustain us. And then we'll get back. And then Braun's in the Champions League next year. So, like, what are we talking about here? Later this year, not next Champions League season. So everything's coming up roses for your boys.
I was when I was rewatching Arsenal United. I think it was football flow on the call. I think I got
Legend.
that right. Flo was talking about. She was like, yeah, like big difference between second and third here. Qualifying, you might be able to shoot straight ahead into the November qualifying, or you might get, be able to have to play in the October qualifying. And I think this year it might have been like late September too. And then when you look at the calendar, I'm like, oh, it's not that far away. It's like 3-4 months down. We'll be right back to it. But yeah, like as you mentioned, in the meantime, football gods blessed us. We get NWSL, a lot of international stuff to kind of keep us satiated. All right, man, great show. Well, yeah, we said 30. We're at 51. That's pretty much par for the course. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
I think we've done it, my good man. What a UEFA Women's Champions League season thus far. And we got the biggest match of them all coming up. I'll be psyched to watch it and then psyched to chat with you about it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, great season. It almost feels like we did 2 shows tonight. This has been another episode of Into the Channel. Thank you for hanging out. If you enjoyed the show or loving football as much as your boys do, make sure you're kicking it with us each and every single week. Like if you liked, subscribe, follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen. Leave us a review over your favorite podcast app. We want to hear from you. We love hearing from you. Links to all of our socials, except one, in the show notes of this episode. And a big thank you to my host as well, Mr. Granago, for traversing the mountaintop with me, man. I appreciate you, bro. We're here. We're in the final. We made our predictions. One of us is going to be right. And then, yeah, I mean, it just keeps going. That's the best part. Like we close the chapter and a new awesome chapter just kicks off in earnest right from there. And I appreciate you, bro.
Likewise, buddy. And, let us know in the comments. Obviously, I got 3-1 Barcelona. Dino has 1-0 Arsenal. Let us know your picks in the comments. All of you guys just drop wonderful knowledge in the comments. We appreciate you hanging out with us, always giving us your perspective on things, and we will see you all next time.